lot of studies actually going on between San Diego and Jordan, which is, as you know, a country of refugees. That's my home country. And we're trying to create links between both places, San Diego and Jordan, both being border cities or border countries, really. So Jordan is bordering a lot of the refugee-producing areas in the world, like Syria, Iraq, and Palestine and Israel. Those are all conflict areas. And here in San Diego, we are on the border with Tijuana, which is really also a refugee hub for refugees from all over the world. Now there are a lot of Ukrainian refugees and Russian refugees actually fleeing what's happening in that part of the world. A lot from Latin America also coming in, but also San Diego is a major refugee resettlement hub for Middle Eastern refugees. So we try to follow the health of those refugees from Syria and Iraq that stop in Jordan for a few years and then end up in San Diego as their final resettlement destination. So for this particular study that you're describing, we're looking at qualitatively trying to understand their own perceived risk of dementia. And we found a lot of interesting themes that people really, for example, relate the experience of living in a refugee camp to living in an open air prison. And a lot of them really discuss the loss of social network and social support and the lack of knowledge on dementia and its risk factor and dementia services as big barriers to really understanding how they can protect themselves and and moderate their own risk. Since we know that there might be a heightened risk for refugees to develop dementia at an earlier onset. And we have learned that from Holocaust survivors, for example, veterans who fight in different parts of the world and are exposed to stress that refugees are also exposed to, war and trauma and violence, are likely to have an increased risk of dementia. So our study in Jordan also, which I touched on briefly in my limited slot at CONy, I'm also looking in Jordan quantitatively to be able to find these associations between mental health trauma and dementia risk in refugees from Syria who are living in camps and those who live outside camps as well, because we know that only 15% of refugees usually end up living in a refugee camp. The majority are outside. So quantitatively, we are able to present preliminary data showing an increased risk of dementia in refugees, especially those who have lived in refugee camps before.